I remember when I was younger, I mentioned to my mom, my friends come to me and they just open up. It seems like they trust the advice that I'm going to give them, or even if it's somebody not looking for advice, but looking for somebody just to listen. I had those capabilities, it seems like God-given. Yeah. And when I said this to my mom, I think I was 17, and she said to me, this might be a calling from God.
So this is your purpose?
I believe it is. I believe it is my calling, not just my purpose. I believe it is my calling. When it comes to coaching, or holistic wellness coaching to be specific, let me just be very specific. I believe I'm a server, and this is the best way God wants me to serve people.
What is the value of coaching, and what can somebody at home sitting, listening to this podcast, what can I benefit from a coach like the holistic wellness coach that you are?
A coach's job is to say, you want to get from point A to point B, let me walk this walk with you. I'm sorry to say, if you're not ready to change, don't engage a coach, because the idea is to change. Yeah. Change is not a bad thing. I want to say this and make it very clear. The reason why I say the idea is to change is because if you're not willing to change, you're going to stay the same. And if you're going to interact with a coach, this is somebody who's going to make sure you don't stay the same, or is supposed to make sure you don't stay the same.
Welcome. My name is Boitumelo Keoagile. I'm the host of Blossom with Boy. Today I have a special guest. His name is Kago. He'll introduce himself. Welcome, Kago.
Thank you so much.
Good to have you in the podcast today.
I appreciate the invite. My name is Kago Gaolaolwe. I'm a life coach, certified life coach, and with a heavy emphasis on holistic wellness. So basically, when I talk about holistic wellness, what I'm talking about is finding a healthy balance of what I like to call the 8 pillars of wellness. So when you find yourself having a healthy balance of these, then and only then is when I believe we can say somebody's living a life with, fulfillment. And my job as a coach is not to tell you what to do, is not to make you become the person you want to become. My job is to be a collaborative partner. I'm holding your hand while you're on the journey to build yourself into the person you want to be, into somebody you can be proud of. Yeah.
Bring to having a fulfilled life?
I believe I do. I did a certification last year, and I think the certification was more of a formality than anything else, because this is something I've been doing to a degree for people closer to me for a very long time.
Yeah.
I remember when I was younger, I mentioned to my mom, my friends come to me and they just open up about whatever it is they're opening up about. And it seems like they trust the advice that I'm going to give them, or even if it's somebody not looking for advice, but looking for somebody just to listen. I had those capabilities, it seems like God-given.
Yeah.
And when I said this to my mom, I think I was 17, and she said to me, this might be a calling from God. But at the time, like I'm saying, I was young, so I didn't know how to structure it. I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know how to even look for what it means. But the older I got, the more into the internet I got, and the more we find out information. So I think during that period of time, from 17 until now, or until a few years ago, maybe until I was 22, that's when I started to find it easier to define what it was. So now I was actively seeking out a way to do this in a more structured way.
So this is your purpose?
I believe it is. I believe it is my calling, not just my purpose. I believe it is my calling. We have conversations sometimes and you talk about how God speaks to you. I think this is what God called me to do in this world. I've done so many things in my life. I know one of my friends, he'll tell you all the different things you've tried, but I think when it comes to coaching, or holistic wellness coaching to be specific, let me just be very specific. I believe I'm a server, and this is the best way God wants me to serve people. Yeah. So I think this is really my calling.
What is holistic wellness? If somebody's sitting at home and they keep hearing the word holistic wellness, what is it?
The best way to define holistic wellness, or the easiest way, I would say, is balance. Just think of the word balance. When the scale, nothing is tipping over on one end or the other, that is what holistic wellness is. So we have pillars that I structure my teachings around, or I structure my programs around. And I'm going to give you a few examples. Spiritual wellness, financial wellness, occupational wellness, and social wellness. This is a few examples. So I would say you don't have balance if your social wellness is lacking. You might be good financially, occupationally, all those things are good. But socially, you don't have what you need to have in order to feel like, okay, I have friends, I have someone I can talk to. Your first episode, we talked to your best friend.
Yeah.
So you can imagine having somebody like that during the time where you're experiencing what you're experiencing. You have all these other things, but your social wellness is lacking.
It's lacking.
So that's a lack of balance. So when we talk about holistic wellness, we're talking about balance. Having those things in balance, having them as good as they can possibly be at any given period of time.
I remember with me, I used to be lacking in my spiritual life. That's when God my spiritual life was lacking, and my life was and
yes,
the moment
there was no balance.
There was no balance. So the moment I started fulfilling that or working on that journey, things started improving.
Yeah.
So you'd know or you'll feel it when there's that lack or when there's that imbalance. So I really get encouraged or very curious when I meet people like you, that are more into building and they're more into helping others to get a better direction into what life is and how do we get there.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about my friend as well. She's a life coach, and I would really want you to emphasize what is the value of coaching and what can somebody at home sitting listening to this podcast, what can I benefit from a coach like the holistic wellness coach that you are?
Okay. I'm going to start off by answering it this way. In the beginning, I did mention that my job as a coach is to be a collaborative partner. I mentioned I'm holding hands. We're taking this journey together. So the value of a coach is basically what I would like to call an accountability partner. Right? I mentioned I'm not going to tell you what to do. Like, for example, if you had come to me and said, hey, I'm lacking spiritually, I don't have a relationship with whether it's God or whoever you are, it depends on whatever works for you. But you came to me as a client and said, this is really lacking. What I'm going to do is we're going to unpack that. You are lacking in the sense that God managed to present himself to you without you having, but some people need somebody to be right there next to them. You have different ways in which God communicates to you. For example, I'm also a firm believer in God. My relationship with God is growing. I'm working on it right now. So the way I relate to God, the way God communicates to me is not going to be the same in the way he communicates to you. So my job would be to say, what do you see? What do you feel as far as your relationship to God is concerned? You talked about sometimes he speaks to you via your dreams. So you'd come to me and say, last night I dreamt 1, 2, 3 was happening. And my job is to say, what does that feel like? What did this communicate to you? Why do you feel like this was God talking to you? And once we figure out what the answers to those questions are, that's when we can say, okay, I'm helping you out. That's my job. I'm collaborating with you, because with my certification as well, I have tools that I use that I provide to my clients that say, okay, we're working on this and this is how you can do this. Start journaling, use this tool, try and do this instead of doing this. Maybe this might work. These are suggestions based off of the information you're giving me that I'm going to be able to say, if you do this instead of this, this might help you out. And I mentioned in the beginning, this is trial and error.
Yeah.
So we're going to try one tool, it might not work. We're going to move on to the next one. Because the idea is not to dwell, especially on things that don't bring us joy or happiness, but it's to see, this doesn't work for me. So how am I going to shift as soon as possible to make sure I don't spend too much time in this horrible little corner that's making me feel bad about myself, bad about my relationships, bad about the way I'm handling or presenting myself to the world. So a coach's job is to say, you want to get from point A to point B, let me walk this walk with you. And while I'm walking this walk with you, I'm going to say to you, hey, there might be a pothole over there, so that we can avoid certain pitfalls. People who, and there's research on this, people who use coaches or take advantage of the services that coaches provide will tell you that sometimes, because I don't do this for free, you're going to pay me a fee for doing this. Because you're like, this person, so I need my service, I need to get the results that I'm looking for. It's different from having a friend. It's valuable to have a friend you can talk to, but somebody who you are paying, I need to get my money's worth. So people are free in that sense. They're saying, I'm spending my hard-earned money on this person or on myself, to be honest, but this person is supposed to help me do this. So the value, that's also what the value of a coach is. This is somebody who takes the weight off of your shoulders, in the sense that because you've put yourself in a position where you're investing financially and also with your most valuable resource, which is your time, you're able to be the person who's going to take advantage of that relationship. So that's the value of a coach. If you're looking for somebody to be an accountability partner, that's what you need.
And hold you responsible.
I think one of
the things that we don't like is taking full responsibility for what we do, or maybe tracking and sitting there. At times when you want to see results in something, you have to sit maybe in the discomfort of, or maybe the pain. Like, for instance, if you want to build a six-pack and you are my you are my personal trainer, you are my accountability person. And if I feel the pain, you are going to keep on pushing me. But if I'm alone, if I feel the pain, I'm going to stop. So I like that you hold somebody accountable. It helps us to see results and also to learn to stretch ourselves and build different muscles, be it the physical muscles or the mental muscles. And I love that. It's encouraging to see a young coach. I'm very inspired, and I love that. Because it's funny how in the old culture we are not used to coaching, and coaching these days seems to be creating value and building more results. And mentoring. I think it's fast tracking the process, and also, like you were saying, to avoiding pitfalls. But then when I think of it, I ask myself, is it not maybe in a way taking away the essence of learning to the
individual,
to what's the word? Good things that I would need to learn or unlearn. In maybe at times time makes the difference. When I avoid something, or maybe I find the shortcut to doing it, I won't value something as much as when maybe it's just a mindset.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
Why can you talk into it or speak into it?
There's a saying that says anything worth having doesn't come easy.
Yeah.
One of the fact that you mentioned the shortcut should show you that it's not the right thing to do. And I'm also going to take it back to the words that you said just now. You mentioned that having somebody to hold you responsible helps you learn how to stretch yourself, you know? So when you have someone doing that, in the long run, you are learning lessons that are going to be valuable. I'm not going to be in your life forever as your coach. There's only going to be a period of time where we're working together, where the program is running. And during that period of time, my job is to equip you as well with the tools and ideas that you need. But I think one thing that I should emphasize as well is I really love feeling like I added value, not only in that short space of time, but also thinking about the fact that you're going to have to live life after our relationship is over, right? So if after 2 months, you're going back to your old habits, maybe to a certain degree, I didn't do my job. And also, if you are still saying, I will try something different because I learned how to, sometimes if this doesn't work, try something new. That's also value that I feel like I've added to the individual or to the client. So looking for shortcuts or quick ways to get results will always result in you backtracking. It's like taking one step forward and 10 steps back. Because you haven't learned how to sustain whatever it is that you are looking to build on or work on. If it's a shortcut, if it's something as a get-rich-quick scheme, pyramid schemes, we hear these things all the time. It's not just about coaching. It's life in general. There's always going to be things that people share with you or the world shares with you that show you when you try to do something like that without taking the time to feel the pain, without taking the time to learn, without taking the time to fumble, to fall over and pick yourself back up, it's not going to be worth it. I remember one of my old mentors used to say something very similar, and he would talk about how people love instant gratification. We live in a world where Right now, if you want to watch a movie, it's one click away.
Yeah.
Back then, you used to have to go to the mall, buy a DVD, bring it back home, buy a VC, all those things. You had to. It was steps. By the time you watched the movie, it was so gratifying because you did all these things to get to where you wanted to get. So I want to talk about it from that perspective as well. Instant gratification will never ever be as fulfilling as delayed gratification. Because during that time where you was being delayed, you had to go through all these things. What have built you to a person who, like I was saying, is able to sustain themselves even without me being there anymore. I'm not meant to be a crutch. I'm meant to be an accountability partner. Once you have gotten to the point where we believe you are ready to take on the world by yourself, that's fine. But it had to go through trial and error. It shouldn't just happen like that.
Yeah, I do hear what you are saying. I used to have a life coach. For me to embark on this whole new journey of development, self-awareness, and personal development, I used to have a life coach, Agatha. I don't know if you know him. Agatha.
Actually,
yes.
That's one of the people who put me where I am right now. I swear to God. Yeah.
I love her. She's so tough, and I love how she's not for everyone, man. I think some people have different opinions on her, but if you really want to grow, you have to have somebody who is tough, who is gonna call it like it is,
who's willing to tell you the truth,
to tell you the truth. Like I mentioned in my first episode, my best friend, she's one of those people. We're both in the coaching with Agatha with her. So I love Agatha, the way she does her coaching, and she's that firm person, and she'll tell you like what you don't want to hear. And mostly we just like to be told what we want to hear, yet it doesn't bring any results.
Sweet nothings.
And we tend to be frustrated because we are not seeing change. And change doesn't come with just sitting on the couch. If you want to do a six-pack, you have to go to the gym and you have to starve yourself some nice things. And to go diet or whatever. If you want to get out of debt, you have to unlearn bad habits or maybe unhealthy ways of spending money.
Sacrifice
some things, So I love and I believe in life coaching. I might not have one at the moment, but I love, and I'm where I am because of life coaching. I invested in it for quite a while, and I've also invested in some other people. I paid for them for life coaching. So it's something that I see very valuable, and I would vouch for it any day. And also, I wanted us to speak on what is let's say somebody is in a space where they want to improve their finances. Can you speak to that in life coaching, Kore? What is in our culture, I think we learn habits.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, we learn habits. I would come from a family where there is lack. And then I would think me denying myself, it's me creating wealth, or maybe
this is how it's supposed to be.
This is how it's supposed to be. So can you speak to somebody who comes from lack and they want to improve their financial wellness in that area?
Okay. So I think with financial wellness, I'm going to start off a little bit by talking about financial literacy. You mentioned that and it's not just in our culture, it's just generally. Habits are what make us who we are. You learn certain habits, so you behave in a certain way. And financial literacy is something that we've heard this term all the time. We are not taught how to use money, how to spend money, how to save. There are financial coaches, even locally, will help you unlearn certain things, learn certain habits, what are going to help you use your money better. But to your question specifically about somebody who comes from lack, money psychology is also very important. This is basically how we relate to money. Another mentor of mine from when I was a bit younger used to say, like somebody, the way they walk into a room, the way they present themselves, the way they talk to you, the way they greet you. And that very same person, now the demeanor has changed, the way they talk has changed, the way they present themselves has changed. So there's an element of understanding that the way you relate to money is going to be a reflection of who you are. I think one thing we need to take into consideration is the importance of money psychology. And money psychology basically means the way you relate to money. The way you interact with money is going to be a direct reflection of how you think about money. So you mentioned somebody who comes from so there's somebody who didn't have all the nice things in life. So there's an element of, it depends on who you are. People react differently because we are from different backgrounds, even if we're both from an environment where no thing. But somebody else will say, because I grew up not having nice clothes, I grew up not having nice furniture, I grew up not having nice things, the moment I get thing, that's all they do. I'm going to be buying the most expensive brands, buying the biggest car, even if it's living above your means, beyond your means.
Do you think buying brands and whatnot, it's instigated, or maybe the root cause of it's because of lack?
It really depends. Different people, there's no one size fits all. Everybody has very unique circumstances that made them who they are. That's how I was saying, for example, one person comes from lack and will do that. Omwe will believe, I deserve not to have good things because let's say in this type of environment. This is what I saw growing up. I turned out okay. So what I wanted to be a good person, you shouldn't have the big car, you shouldn't have the big brands and stuff like that. So it really depends on how you relate to money as an individual. Some people who have money, who grew up in money, take it for granted. You've seen this all the time. They get into drugs, they don't know the value of money. So everything has come easy to them their whole lives. So they believe everything will always be easy. Omwe grows up with money. Their parents are very strict. This money is mine, it's not yours. So you need to be able to learn how to make money for yourselves. So they grew up with the mentality, I need to know how to make money for myself. Because God forbid something happens to my parents, I'm going to need to be able to stand on my own feet. So it really depends on who you are and where you come from. Some people's perception changes because of maybe the experiences they have during adulthood. And you feel like, now I don't deserve nice things. And then your best friend happens to be someone who has a healthy relationship with money. I don't know, my friend. As long as you're saving, as long as you're investing in the future for your children, for your relationships, for everything, you can afford to buy yourself nice things because you're rewarding yourself for all the good that you're doing. So these things are all dependent on our surroundings. We're all a product of our surroundings. We're all a product of where we come from. So when it comes to coaching in this scenario, you need to put yourself in a position where, I remember saying a few minutes ago, we're going to have these sessions where I'm asking you questions. We're going to learn about you during those sessions. You're going to be able to unlearn certain things, learn certain things, figure out certain things. Okay, I should be spending money recklessly because but if you lose your job, what happens to all those things? The mortgage, higher purchase, your car, maybe even your furniture, and you're going to be left in a position where you are back to where you were when you're growing up. You feel worthless, you feel all these things would have been avoided if you had figured out who you are in relation to money. Am I living a life that makes sense in relation to the way I grew up and in relation to the way I understand money or what money is? One thing that I feel like people need to understand, especially about money is just a tool. Money is an emotion. It's not something you should attach value or your value to, because whether your money is there or not, you're still going to have to live. You're still going to have to interact with people, take care of who you need to take care of, all those things. So understanding that money is not as important as we tend to make it seem is very important, because it also allows you to detach yourself from it. You are not the money that you make. You're not the money that you earn. You are an individual. In your current circumstance, this is what you have.
And I've seen also during my experience and from watching other people, some of the frustration comes from we attach ourselves to money and some material things. And when they get taken from us, or when they deplete, we get frustrated and we tend to lose our self-worth. So I think it's important, like you are saying, to coach our children, or even ourselves, even in our adult life. Because I think the root cause of it is we were never we never had conversations surrounding financial literacy.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's a norm, and we just, it's trial and error. So
Yes.
we really never had intentional conversations surrounding money. Maybe it's time that we start having those conversations if we are going to be having to have a very stable relationship or healthy relationship with money. So maybe, for example, I have a young daughter who is 9 and I want to have her, or maybe invest in her, like in terms of financial literacy. In terms of age, or similar, from what age can you coach a child, or maybe what is the suitable to start coaching children on financial literacy and stuff?
I'm going to talk about something that I saw fairly recently. It was a video where this couple was investing in teaching their children how to use money, right? And the kids, if I remember correctly, I think 9, 10 years old. It was 2 kids. And what these parents did, mama ke bata madi a di-sweets. Ke bata madi a mopako, ke bata madi a tuck shop ya ko sekolong gore ke ye go reka sengwe. They're old enough for you to start teaching them about money. I genuinely believe that. What this couple would do is they would give their children an allowance. Let me just give an example. It's 100 pula a month. What they would do is 100 pula, kgwedi a hela, 100 pula. I guess she lives in your house. Would you allow rent? 10 pula. And she puts that down in her journal or her notebook. I pay rent for 10 pula. Savings are mandatory. How much do you save? 50%. Or get 50 pool. Also like a 40 pool. More 40 pool is for you to use for the rest of the month. I agree, you already pay school fees. You pay for the transportation to go to school. You are giving them small responsibilities that they're going to have to deal with when they're adults. So the fact that they pay rent and the fact that they have savings, I'm learning how to use money. I want to buy a pair of whatever shoes, or you have savings. Because you understand what you're already teaching them. At some point, they're going to have to take money out of their savings and invest it in things that they want or things that they need. So age-wise, I feel like as long as that child is old enough to ask you for money, they're old enough to learn about how to use money. And you just need to be creative about how to do this. Even outside of a coach, there are countless tools online that you can use to figure out how to do this. There are platforms like Patreon, Pinterest. Pinterest has these templates, what can help you get started. Also using devices like ChatGPT. I have a 9-year-old daughter. How can I get started? So there's countless ways to start investing in teaching some of these things for your kids. But yeah, like I was saying, as long as they're old enough to understand money. Because let me just say this, when I was a child, I remember my mom, you know how but you know what my dad thing. I used to say to my mom, meaning an ATM.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand how you had to work for money. So those things, once my dad his perception. So that's the perfect time to start teaching them about these things.
Have you read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Yes, I have. My mom is she's big on reading. So we have a mini library at home. There's a bunch of books. Robert Kiyosaki, some of the authors were really preached about me growing up. So I really do read. I love reading. I read a lot.
I think if we could be intentional. I read it last year and I thought it was to think this book has always been there at our house. And I only read it last year and I saw the value of, should I have read this book like a long time ago?
Definitely.
It could have changed my life. And it's a book Definitely. It's a book it's an investment I can do to somebody that I love. I still would read it again.
Definitely,
until it gets to my head. It's one book that I would recommend any parent to buy the book for their children, especially in the teenagehood. We need to learn to, or maybe to start the culture of introducing our children to reading, especially things that will impact or plant new ways of doing things that are intentional. And the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, it's a book that is really, it has tools and strategies that can really help, and very simple and straightforward.
Very simple and straightforward. It's very simplified.
Yeah, it's very simplified, and it's a book e tle re bile ke ya kantse ba ba ko gae ke ba ka mpola.
But it's a very good book.
It's a good book. And I feel like tota hela, like if you really someone dearly, as I take a projection, o tla mo irekela as a present, o tla bo hetotse botshelo ba gagwe tota, because me ka ha ke itseng rona ka ha we have our limitations tse eleng gore ha ke tla ke go reketse buka e bore, oh, so what ga ke tse go dirisa madi, this is how you view me. But I think from a healed person point of view, it's a nice gesture to buy a book to someone like that. What other ways would you, let's say I'm a working mom and I am also trying entrepreneurship. I'm new and it's in and I also am a friend. Kanankare ha ke batla go find a balance in my life. And what is the easy way of kanankare go invest in coaching go sa affecte my schedule? How would you recommend coaching to me? Or what's the easy way of doing it without it affecting my work, my relationships? Because somehow it's going to take away my habits and give me new habits. Is there a way where I can still keep my habits, or it's completely going to take away assurance thing? And do you, let's say, along the way you're coaching to learning, you are going to feel pain, and is there a way you support me, like emotionally or psychologically? I'll also have to arrange for services that psychological support, because a life coach is different from a therapist. So is there a way it cushions me somehow, or it's just a different
avenue altogether? Okay. First and foremost, a life coach is not a therapist, not a psychiatrist, none of that.
Yeah.
If you do get certification, there is an element of training at thing, but it's not enough for me to diagnose and treat mental illness. Let me just make that clear. I'm morally obligated to, if you are my client, you came to me as a client, and I give it there might be a mental illness factor here. I'm morally obligated to say to you, I cannot, in good faith, continue this coaching relationship unless you are seeing a professional in the mental illness field. So it would be I would say to you, I would suggest for a therapist, go for an evaluation. If we actually find out this particular mental illness, then, like I'm saying, I cannot coach you if that's the case. If you are not seeking professional help, only when you're seeking professional help is when I can coach you as well. That's the first thing. And the second thing, your question was, are you going to be able to interact with the coach and not and keep certain habits? I'm sorry to say, if you're not ready to change, don't engage a coach, because the idea is to change.
Yeah.
And change is not a bad thing. I want to say this and make it very clear. The reason why I say the idea is to change is because if you're not willing to change, you're going to stay the same.
Yeah.
And if you're going to interact with a coach, this is somebody who's going to make sure you don't stay the same, or is supposed to make sure you don't stay the same. There's no growth, there's no development, there's no fulfillment, there's no or a sense of moving forward if there's no changing. You mentioned Khantilore, if it's going to be sitting on the couch, and that's true. So if you want to keep certain habits. Because you mentioned, those are the if you still want to keep those, then don't engage a coach. Because you might come to me, let's keep more the financial aspect of wellness. Hey, my finances are a mess. I need help. How often what do you spend on? Every weekend you're out drinking alcohol. I'm going to tell you, leaving alcohol might be an endeavor worth taking. But you understand that alcohol is not bringing value. It's not bringing type of value into your life. But you're not willing to stop drinking alcohol because of whatever reasons that are there. Then you shouldn't be engaging with a coach. I genuinely believe you shouldn't, because you're going to make it more difficult for me. At the end of the coaching program, chances are nothing has changed, because you refuse to change those habits. You refuse to unlearn those things. You refuse to let go of some of those things. I spent 3 months with you in this program. But at what point does personal responsibility become a factor, right? Because I find it hard to believe any coach allowed you to just cruise through those 3 months as a at that point. Where was the issue? Because if you're not willing to change, there's no way I believe you're willing to grow. There's a difference between saying and actually be willing to put in the work. I mentioned a few minutes ago that I love reading. It's not that I love reading. I love reading because of the results it gives me. But I'm going to let me just say this. It's not an actual diagnosis, but I took an online test at a recommendation by a friend, because I feel like you're dyslexic. And then I took an online test. They get test entirely. And that's one of the reasons why, even in school, I used to struggle with reading, like in high school or what. I'm somebody who learned by rewriting.
Yeah.
When we get notes, I have to rewrite those notes. I will struggle to read. Numbers and as a kid, so I wouldn't say it to my teachers, my parents, my friends. But when this friend told me to take this test, that's when I started taking reading seriously. Because not only am I learning about money, about myself, about wellness, but I'm also, it's called exposure therapy.
Yeah.
It's one of the best ways to treat dyslexia. Read. Because you are straining yourself. You are forcing your brain to be in a position that's uncomfortable. But you understand that the results I'm going to get are going to be worth it. So this is just to emphasize on the point, you're going to need to change if you want to grow. And if you're going to engage a coach, be willing not only to change, but also with the actions you're going to put in.
Yeah, I love that. I think one of the things we have to do when we want change is to face our fears, or the things that we are not comfortable with, or the things that unsettle us. So getting out of our comfort zone. So I wanted to ask you, the other thing is the emotional aspect of it. I think it's always left behind, don't you think?
It really is.
Why is that?
I think it's left behind because, and I'm going to talk about this from the perspective of a Botswana living in Botswana with Botswana.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be blunt. It's alcohol. That's not just alcohol, but alcohol is a very easy example, because even the jokes online about how we use alcohol to numb ourselves are so prevalent. So it's something that says to you, Botswana have found unhealthy coping mechanisms and ran with them. We have told ourselves, I'm not going to face my feelings. I'm not going to face my fears. I'm not going to face things that make me feel uneasy. And I'm going to numb myself. I'm going to distract myself. I'm going to do everything I possibly can in my power to make sure I don't think about those things. And that's why alcohol is such a big... You remember even during lockdown, I was Peggy. Every time she would reduce the price, Peggy. I had the price because of one of the former presidents, but in about complain. So it just shows you alcohol as an example will show you we are in a position where we want to numb the pains or the discomforts Botswana throws at us. But that is very... I'm trying to find a word to use will actually help me emphasize this point. It's just And I'm going to use the word unsettling. It's unsettling because we know gore ga bo re dirile sepe se se molemo. You mentioned this a few minutes ago gore you know dilo tse e leng gore di go tela dilo tse di siameng tse e leng gore bring you negative things, and alcohol is one of those things, or these unhealthy coping. Let me just not use alcohol. These unhealthy coping mechanisms are very easy ways for us to fall into these rabbit holes where we're like, okay, I'm just gonna stay here. Alcohol, drug use, pornography, these things are things that people use just to put themselves in these little boxes. I'm not certain if I can pass this semester. You're going to open the laptop or you're going to go out with your friends. We have friends it's they don't even want to know the solution is alcohol. So there's just these things they don't use to say to themselves, I'm not going to feel anything, I'm not going to do anything because it's easier and it's more instant for me to say, let me just go drink, let me just go smoke, let me just go do this because in those 3 to whatever few hours, I'm going to be okay. And it's the truth. And this is the truth because during that time, how can you do it? Obviously, until it gets to a certain point where it boils over. But for the most part, you're in your little bubble. So it's just a thing of people have used coping mechanisms, unhealthy coping mechanisms, as a way to say, I'm not going to face what I need to be facing.
And then maybe wait for the moment when they're high on such substances, and then that's when they want to have the conversation and say things that they don't mean, or create that conflict and unnecessary turmoil, you know. And you'll also realize, okay, I'm also an events planner. I did told you earlier about how I'm planning an event. It deals with such issues. We are trying to advocate for safe spaces and have conversations where we can talk about mental health, where we can talk about holistic well-being. And Botswana, Kanankare culture, we are still really
apprehensive
about
it.
And because we can see how our community it's sinking in our. We can't apply ourselves when it comes to emotional things, but when it comes to alcoholic events, we see how yes. So because at the end of the day, we go back to our problems, and we had we had each other.
Ourselves before anyone else.
Ourselves.
Then our immediate
then
surrounding.
The circle, and then it escalates into a bigger societal problem and economic problem. So now I'm asking you, what do you think can be done to try to mitigate this? Because truth be said, we are sinking and things are getting out of control. Every day you hear GVB cases, people are killing others. You hear somebody has killed themselves. Hey, every day there's a case. So there's something. It even leads to relationships, how the dynamics of the relationships. We can't manage relationships. We can't maintain relationships. So what do you think can be done to mitigate such in a broader level? What can be done?
This is a very difficult question to answer, and only because it's a societal issue, right? It's a thing saying is so ingrained in who we are. This morning, actually, I mentioned to you guys I was running the marathon.
Yeah.
And afterwards, there were speeches by the police commissioner, I think.
Yeah.
I think she was the one. So there were speeches by her, other people from different foundations, Babua. During the time we were doing Borumba and the physical stuff, people were engaging, how similar were people start to go outside.
Yeah.
And then we come back in because Pina Gitsi Rabina. The next speaker comes on, and the next speaker had he said, Because he could see people are moving. So he could see people are moving out, and he says, guys, come back inside. Ladies outside, come with the gentleman, more thing, and stuff like that. Because they were we're talking about gender-based violence. That was the main reason why we were running or doing the marathon. And on top of that, there was a joke made by someone while they were making us chant certain things. Boo, say no to GBV, stuff like that. As a joke. Yeah. But you get to realize there's a possibility that it's not just a joke. Yeah. So when he's in a relationship with his partner, so it's a societal problem that's why I'm saying it's very difficult to solve. But one thing I can promise you, these conversations, we have them in private. Even as men. I know the event that you had mentioned, even with your previous guest, was surrounded around men. But we have these conversations about doing better, about feeling better, about just making sure that things are a bit better for not only for ourselves, but for our sisters, our mothers, or, and because it's such a big thing, society-wise, I think the solution comes on an individual basis. If as Kago, I can say, what am I going to do specifically as Kago to work on being a person I can be proud of? Not only who I am, but also am I doing what I could be doing to make sure that my sister is safe? When my brother says to me, Tuba, am I going to say to him, hey, why would you say that? Because we didn't know another friend of mine, I know where to because now wears a joke, but you never know so personal responsibility is where I feel like can have the biggest change. When somebody's watching this video right now and listening, Bui is an event planner and she plans events around wellness. Am I investing enough in wellness? If I'm going out every weekend, spend 500 pulaga weekend, that's 2,000 pulaga khwedi. How much is a ticket to one of the events? Maybe 1,000 pula. So if I just sacrifice 2 weekends of going out, I can have the money to pay for a ticket, go interact with people who are working on themselves, are trying to work on themselves, people who have done the work and are trying to help other people do the work. Yeah. Is that a worthy investment? It is. It's a worthy investment. So personal responsibility is where I feel like people can now really take advantage of trying to work on themselves. This information is readily available online. Well, not only people talking about wellness online. There are countless podcasts, there are countless forums that people see and read the information and listen to the information. So after consuming that, after absorbing that information, what are you doing as an individual? I'm not saying how to go start an event company or no, get the event. Are you treating your wife or your girlfriend in the way that you want? Self-reflection. So it's just a matter of what are you doing as an individual? My favorite book of all time is 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. And I think it's rule number, is it 2? I don't remember where it is, but there's a part where he says, make your bed. If how are you going to influence change for the world outside? Start howling thing. If you can make significant change howling thing, it becomes easier for you to trickle out into the rest of the world. If I have a conversation with you right now and something meaningful lands on your ears, because I was able to simulate thing, your friend. Your friend had to obey the husband. The husband had to obey the co-worker. I didn't work on myself. This chain wouldn't have started. So just start by yourself. What are you doing as an individual?
Yeah. No, I think that change comes with intention and also
intention, being deliberate about what you're doing,
and also being okay with not getting it right. Even the first time, the second time,
the 100
times. The event planning. It's a very uncertain. It's a faith-based business.
It definitely is.
You don't know if the event is going to happen, especially in the wellness space. It's still new in our country, but we are receptive to something. And is this going to happen? Ka lorato la modimo ke gone hela kana ha ile gore ke se modimo a se batlang, it will happen. But ha go tshwane le the alcohol events mo e leng gore you'll see massive change o bona gore nya me di-ticket di a move
sold out
months
before.
Yeah, months before. So tota it really shows us ke tle ke bone gore, because I also used to be mo industry ya go nwa to invest gore I used to live that life. So be ke lemoga gore tota we are not intentional about our lives and our wellness. And it takes a lot of, I don't know gore go tlhoka eng gore re invest in ourselves to be living botshelo bo e leng gore it's also bo re fulfill. Fulfillment is something se e leng gore ha o na le sone la ha o sena madi kana o leka maybe o tshwerwe ke tlala. I don't know how to put it. It's something se long gore gongwe
it'll give you the zeal to go.
Yes, the zeal to go. And that's why I keep doing these events, because I found the secret kana nkare ke bone the fulfillment more events planning kana I invested in myself, like you are saying. At that time I wasn't even earning much. Me ganna le event e bidwang Web 19. It's organized by this other lady. She's an events planner, Michelle Petle. The ticket was $650. At that time, $650 was a lot of money. It just started there. And information I get to consume $650 go. I never stopped.
It's priceless.
And I keep pushing and asking God, God, you will answer me. I'll be able to help our community to see what we see. We are not going there for luxury. No. Go na le sephiri go tshwana le motho a ya kerekeng gore go kerekeng go na le se e leng gore molemo o e leng gore wa o tsa go kerekeng. So but go di events it's not like gore you can afford them. You can actually plan or budget for them and then say, oh, the event day iragala in such a month, and then spend on it, because the experience ke so se leng gore sa re thusa gore re bue ka and remove shame, re go bua ka tse leng gore re hitile ka tsone kana re goanya maele different ways of doing things or being better. So tota hela we need to start to viewing wellness in a different view. It can benefit us. It can also make life better and lighter for a lot of us and less expensive, because at times our habits or maybe how we live life, it tends to make life difficult for us. Unwell. So wellness is a very forgotten industry, but it can change our lives and it can change our community. Ke tle ke le tlhoko gore tota se we invest mo go sone, it will change, and what we give time to, it will change,
and will yield results.
And you will yield results. So can we try to put effort in sitting in those uncomfortable conversations and then face reality? Really se go batla go nna re no lehelana ko tsotlhe ha o bona e kare selo ga se go tse sentle. Ipotse gore gongwe ha ke bua le wena gongwe let's say ke gore a kere ke lemogile gore o rata go ira 1 2 3 o bo tenega. Ipotse gore o tenwa ke eng, se batle go tsamawe go nwa gore o nyeletse tshakgalo eo. Ipotse gore ke eng re Boitumelo a bua ka le nna ka topic e be ke nna le tshakgalo. And then that is where you need to do the work. So tota, let's face if for anything to change, for us to lose so much anger, kana re unlearn anger and unforgiveness and all these unhealthy, unyielding habits, heady fruits, is for us to sit in our discomfort and reflect and ask ourselves, what is it that I'm doing wrong? Kana what is it? Why is it that when I hear this and my behavior change, or I get upset, or
especially if it's coming from somebody who's close, or actually cares about me.
So these are the conversations that we need to start having with ourselves. If we can't maybe have them with our loved ones, there are life coaches like Bokago, they get paid for such too, and they are professionals, and they are also therapists. They even deal with the psychological part of it, and they diagnose you. It's that intense. So medication to help you. And also, there are different forms of trying to deal with what our experiences are. So there is no excuse. Let's support each other, let's encourage one another, and also let's be responsible and take our accountability for our own lives. Nobody is coming to save us, and nobody is coming to say, you need to hold your hand at times and say, I'm gonna do this. At times I see it with myself when it's dark and I'm the only one who can pat myself on the back and say, hey, yes. So I think the reality of it is nobody's coming to save us, and this is our lives, and we only have one chance. You can't die and come back. No, you can't. So we have to realize that we only have one chance, and we have to give it our all. And for us to live a fulfilled life, like you mentioned, we have to live a life of intentionality. And what do? We track. We keep the vision that we have. Have vision boards, write your visions, and journals, like you are saying.
Write them down with your own handwriting.
With your own
not
handwriting.
Typing.
Yes. At times, like you just think where the vision boards are just for fun. No, they are not. At times I was looking at, you look at your, maybe when you are you'd realize this thing, I did a vision board 5 years ago, and I managed to achieve it. So something, when you plant it in your head,
it's a seed.
It's a seed. You'll nurture it at times without even knowing. So let's practice that mindset of keeping the dream. Let's visualize things, write them down, keep the journals. Well, I'm trying to learn to be a journal person. I'm not good in journaling, but I'm learning the culture. But I'm good with keeping pictures of what I want, and also, like photography. I like doing things that will help me to visualize where I want to go, and how do I get there. And also the culture of reading. I think culture of reading has really improved my life in a very big way. It has helped me to see life from a different perspective, because when you are not reading, you are just like this. You are narrow. You become narrow-minded, would be the word. But when you start reading, you start viewing life from a different perspective, and you start consuming in different. You can see life from America, from Asia, from different continents, and you'll be one person in different cities. So if we could read, we can start changing the world. You don't have to be in Botswana. That's why even at times it's difficult for us to receive change, because if we don't read, we only see the world from the view of being in Botswana. You can't view the world outside Botswana. So if you start reading, if you start traveling, if you start investing in things that
open your mind,
opens your mindset, it really helps us a lot. Yeah. So what else would you encourage a young, my focus is young people, because I believe there is a lot to be done for young people. What can you encourage young people to do when it comes to intentionality and life coaching in their daily lives?
Okay. I'm going to talk about 3 things. And so the first one, like you're saying, be intentional. Be deliberate about what you're doing. Don't just do something for the sake of doing it. Every time you're doing whatever it is you're doing, in the back of your mind, you should know, I'm doing this because I would like to get better at ABC. So intentionality in everything you do will always I believe, yield good results, right? And the second thing you already mentioned is journaling. Journaling helps you not clear your mind, it helps you arrange your thoughts. It helps you think more clearly because you also, like we were talking about earlier, you separate yourself from these thoughts. Oh, this is how I'm thinking about this thing. I don't know what it is, but I journal. So watching your feelings or some of the things you're saying today would leave separate from yourself. It makes it clearer what you were thinking or what you were feeling, and also makes it clearer what you triggered you in order for you to feel certain things, so it becomes easier for you to avoid certain things because it makes me think this, it makes me feel like this. So it's an alternative is for me to do this instead of doing that. So journaling gives you clarity. It really gives you clarity. Writing it down, your thoughts, your feelings, why you feel those things, why you thought those things, it helps you with clarity. And the last thing is also reading. I think reading is such a simple way for somebody to just absorb information, right? And some people will say, I don't like reading. That's fine. But is you not liking to read going to yield the results you want? We have been saying this throughout this whole episode. Put yourself in uncomfortable situations. Reading is uncomfortable, I would say, whatever the case may be. But it takes, 30 days to learn a habit. If you can just give yourself 15 minutes every day for 30 days, what is your reading habit going to look like after those 30 days? What is your journaling going to look like after those 30 days? So I think being intentional, reading and journaling, those are the three things that I can say to someone. Because especially journaling, it's a form of self-coaching. It's not just about, it's a form of self-coaching. When you say, I feel uneasy, why? You formulate your words sometimes, but when you put them down, you remember last time I went home, my uncle, because it made me feel uncomfortable, or my niece, I created the way my sister or my brother because you learn why you feel the way we feel howling in certain situations. So it's a form of self-coaching. So yeah, I think those are the three things that I would suggest people give themselves time to invest in. Yeah, being intentional, journaling, and reading.
Yeah, no, I would like to thank you, Kago, for coming to the podcast. It has been a great and informative exercise, and we are looking forward to having you in a bigger space where you are coaching massive people. Like there are big life coaches out there, like Jim Rohn, you know him.
I know Jim Rohn.
So I can't wait to see you in such platforms in the near future. And may God bless you. May He increase you. And may you also check on others, life coach them, and engage for free at times. Be of service to our community, especially to the young ones. Read to them, to mentor and to coach them. I believe, like you were saying, mentored. Or can you also learn to return that favor, especially to the younger boys, because we really want to close that gap where we really left the young boy behind. And may you continue living your life with intention and with purpose. And I've been motivated, and some unhealthy habits that I've been living, I'm now encouraged to go and change them with intention. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I think I also just like to say to you specifically, you sometimes talk about how, especially in your field with the events planning, something, I think, I don't know if it was something I heard or read somewhere, but they said, it was a question of, have you done your 10,000 hours? Because apparently it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at something. So these things, these trial and errors that you're going through right now are meant to happen so that by the time it's going to go for 10,000 hours, you are the best wellness events planner in the world. So just keep at it. Just kind of a thing of just it discouraging you because you know you're working towards something. So I think you'll be okay.
No, thank you so much.
No problem.
So I believe Lina, as I pour into you, you also pour into me.
Definitely.
And so I appreciate that because living a purpose, it's a challenging journey. Some days you live by faith, also need the results, and you need encouragement from God, from other people. And thank you for speaking life into me.
Thank you so much. No problem.
Thank you, my viewers at home. We are appreciative that you took your time to watch our channel. May you subscribe and may you share the content with your friends. Thank you for watching. Leka Moso. Bye.